Hi guys, nice to see you even though I can only see myself. I will just say that anyway. Nice to see you, Lisa. Nice to do these non-duality talks with you, Lisa. If this is your first time joining me for live talks, the way that you ask questions is through Skype. My Skype address is lisacairns12. You can send me a request now and ask questions. You can either write or you can call in. It's better to send me a message before you call, and then I'll call you when I'm ready. Just be aware that I get lots of questions. Sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do. And when I do get lots of questions, I can't reply to them all. If you are wanting to call in, then be aware that you need to have a headset like this. Well, it doesn't have to be like this, but any headset with a microphone in it, because it can feed back if it's through the microphone of your computer. And when I speak to you through Skype, not through YouTube. So you need to take the volume off YouTube, and I'll speak to you through Skype. If you get confused, don't worry, I will guide you through it. I have an eye. The eye of a tiger. The eye of a tiger. So let's make sure the volume is working. Yes, very nice volume. So giving. So what is it to give? Eskev. To give. I think the greatest gift that you can ever give anyone, to give society, to give anything, is to give yourself back to this moment, is give everything back. Your life, your ideas, your wants, your needs, your desires, your plans, your possessions. Everything back to what's currently happening. I think this is the greatest gift that any human can give any other human or can do, is to give everything back. Now what does that mean, to give everything back? Well, right now, all there is this moment, is what's happening. Right here, right now. This intimacy. There's your bum on the seat. There's the sound of your heartbeat. There's the visions. There's the emotions. There's the sounds. There's what is. And what is free. It's what is. It's what's happening. Right now, where's your problems? Where's your self? Where's your idea of future? Where's your longings? Where's your needs? Where's what has or hasn't happened? Where's blame? There is simply what is. it's empty. And it's full at the same time. It's empty of anybody here. You even give yourself back. Who is there right here? Who is there right now? What if you can only exist when you think about yourself, when you have an idea about yourself, when you have an idea about your future, about where you're going, about what you're going to do? But right here is empty of it all. And this is your home. This is your base. This is what's always happening. This is where everything becomes wiped clean. In this moment, in this instant. So you might be thinking you don't like this moment, you want this moment to be another way. But the reason that you don't like this moment and you want it to be another way is because you exist in time. You have an idea of yourself and you have an idea of what life should be. And through many years of practicing that mentality, your body has become tight and contracted and comfortable. And so you keep seeking in the thought land, in imagination, to try to free yourself. So this energy is always trying to seek for something else that might or might not come. And there's a restlessness. The chakras become uncomfortable, the emotional body becomes uncomfortable, and then the thinking, imagining energy keeps focusing on getting something better or different in the future, or trying to change something that's happened in the past. So giving is giving yourself back to this moment. Like, what do you have here? You're totally naked and vulnerable and totally present to whatever feeling or emotion is appearing in the body. Totally naked to it. And then you really own your emotions, you really own your feelings. So when you feel anger, it's full anger. You're not imagining a way to get out of it. You're not imagining an object that is to blame for your anger. It's full anger. And you're sad, it's full sadness. And you're happy, it's full happiness. Totally innocent and mysterious. Right here. Right here. Right now. Boop boop. Boop boop. Boop boop. I think my webcam is slightly dirty. I can see that things are a bit blurry. Let's see what happens if I try to clean it. This might be a little disturbing. I'm going to blow on you quickly. There. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. It was a little blurry. It had got a little dusty. That's much better. Yeah, you see, this was all like glistening before. So on the human level, what you need to do is firstly understand that the human doesn't have free will and choice. The human cannot follow a prescription, but It doesn't have the ability to act independently. It can't listen to what I say and choose to act. It either does act or doesn't act. So by me speaking and there being listening, there can be an updating of that machine, but that machine doesn't actually have free will or choice. And the reason that's important is because as you begin to collapse back into this moment, you begin to see that everything is spontaneously arising from this moment, not from the past. And there begins to be a trust more in what's actually happening, rather than the past and the future. Most people think that your choices are coming from time, that you are moving through time, you're in relationship with a separate world, and your choices are coming from that time. But actually choices are always spontaneously arising here, like everything else. And even though we use our mind and our intellect to update us about those choices, we still have to see clearly that they're spontaneously arising from this mystery. Like there's a collapsing back into that mystery. We see that they're not coming from a separate entity that has the weight of the world on its shoulder because it has to make the right choice. Choice is happening. It doesn't mean that there's not the appearance of choice. There is the appearance that a body chooses, and we update that body and that machinery, and through updating it, it changes its actions. But that isn't independent of anything. Free will and choice implies independence, that there's something that's separate from something else, making a choice. That all of this universe isn't one energy creating, that it's separate beings all coming together in a cluster, kind of having a bit of a cluster muddle. But actually, it's one energy expressing itself in multiple ways. That might seem like a really abstract idea to get to. So one way that you can do it is by looking at things very organically. Like if you begin to look at nature or you look at the environment, you begin to notice that everything is transforming constantly into another thing. So this body didn't appear out of thin air. It grew from my mother as she ate food. She had the ability to grow me. Like a tree doesn't grow out of thin air. It takes the nutrients from the soil and the sunlight and takes the water and grows from that. So everything, you could say, is connected. Everything is the same, and everything is one energy transforming itself. If you begin to break down all the forms and what matter is, you begin to see that matter is actually made of the same, and that these same atoms and quarks and molecules are moving, and as they move in different formations, they create the appearance of different objects. But when you break it down, it's all made from the same. And when you get to the smallest particle, which I think is a quark, inside it there is nothing to be found. It's mystery as to where that quark comes from. You see, if it was a separate and independent world, we wouldn't need other objects in order to change and to move. Like, notice that everything is dependent on everything else. In order for a tree to grow, it's dependent on everything else. In order for me to think and function, it's dependent on the environment. And as you begin to realize that, you begin to see that this is one energy expressing itself. But the most important thing is to see that this energy is only expressing now, and that time arises now, and it appears in time. This dream is appearing in a time and chronological and logical, but it's not actually appearing that way. It's all spontaneously appearing now from mystery. The reason that's important is because there needs to be a collapsing back into what's actually happening, into this moment, rather than always living in this timeline and this removal, believing that you're coming from the past, you're moving to the future, and you're in relationship with a separate world. You're not in relationship with anything. You are, this is, and all of this is your dream as that whole presence. We got a ooh, a ooh. Hi, Vedios, nice to see you. Hi, Raphael. Hi Bia, so happy to see you today. Lots of love. Nice to see you, Bia. Hi Derek. Hi Lisa. I would like to ask you for help. I strongly feel the other people, their thoughts, emotions and energy, and it is too much for me because after that I feel so tired and I cannot deal with it. Please give me some advice how I can deal with it. I cannot fully experience what comes to me. Thank you in advance for your help. Derek. Merci Derek. Actually, I think you're from Poland. That might be a wrong projection, but I reckon that's a Polish name. Derek. So let me see if I can offer you some help. Let's talk about... No, wrong song. Okay. So... my advice for you, and know that this is something that I sometimes struggle with. I speak with people all over the world through the internet, family, friends. I have quite a naturally positive energy through reconditioning of myself. I got into spirituality when I was very young, and I also think it's my personality type. And also from this big awakening and shift that happened, there's quite a natural sense of joy here. And sometimes I come across people, like everybody, that where life is presenting difficult situations and there's lots of negativity that come up. Sometimes it's not even life is presenting difficult situations. Sometimes it's not, and there is from that person negativity coming up. And I'm very sensitive, so I instantly feel it. And I also have the reaction that I want to give my heart to that person. I want to help them. But through being a speaker and through relationships, I realized that you can't. You just can keep offering yourself again and again and again. And what I mean by offering yourself is just coming back to what you are. Like the negativity starts speaking and they're very concerned about the timeline and what's happening or what's not happening, or they're say angry with you or angry with somebody else, and you just let it wash over you and you come back to your essence, which is right here, which is here. So if somebody is overloading me with negativity, the personal awareness just goes deeply into what is. Then what I do on the human level is I try to recognize that it's not my responsibility to stop them suffering. I can offer myself and I can offer advice if it comes, but eventually people have to live out their own karma and they have to live out their own story. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at that. It's difficult because, and they're loved ones and you know them really well, you want to be able to give them everything and to help them see the freedom which they are, but they have to live out their story. So intellectually, if I'm feeling overwhelmed by somebody's energy, I then try to rationalize it, to understand to myself that eventually it's their responsibility, their own suffering. It's not my responsibility and it's not your responsibility. And the reason that I rationalize that into me is to help me take a step back, because my tendency is to want to give them everything, to make them feel love and life and vitality. And I notice, because my energy is really free and positive, that people can easily pick up on that from me if I give them my attention. But also, if I just keep giving, then eventually I'm going to be like a dried up prune. Like, no thing in this planet just keeps endlessly giving. If the tree kept giving fruit and didn't take sun and didn't take from the soil and didn't take from the rain, the tree would die. Like, the tree can only produce a certain amount of fruit to give. And the best thing that you can do really is to give what you can and then to withdraw and replenish yourself, because I certainly notice it tires out my body if I'm around very negative energy for a long period of time. And if you end up becoming ill or taking on that energy for them, it's in the end it's not helpful, because then you can't recharge and give again. Like, your body just becomes too depleted. So this is why I look at it rationally, but this is something that I work with. It's being a speaker, and from family and friends, and just because I do have that very positive energy and I think people can feel it. A lot of people want to have my attention. It's natural with anything. Like, if you go into a room and there's like 50 people and 40 of the people have very dark, angry, negative energy, you'll just be naturally attracted to those with the light, positive energy. I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much for the question, Derek. Hey, Beth. Hi, Lewis. Hi, Renate. You're my Sunday morning church I've never been to. Yeah, it's Sunday morning for Canada. Hi, Julio. Oh, beautiful. That's such a nice picture. Hi, Conrad. Hi, Thomas. Awesome. So nice to see you back, Lisa. Hope you had a wonderful retreat. Thanks, Thomas. The greatest gift is freedom in letting go of all pretense and simply being love. Since science is slowly catching up, especially with quantum mechanics and string theory, particles appearing in and out of nowhere, acting as both waves and particles at the same time. Impossible to explain from a sorely material point of view. Yeah. There was a good film about that I watched many years ago. Maybe it's not good anymore, I can't remember, but it was called Who? Down the Rabbit Hole, maybe? I forgot. Hey, Tim. Hi, Magdalena. Hi, Thomas. Hey, are you online? You're showing offline for me. No, I'm online, Thomas. Bonenti. I think I'm online. Let's have a check. Yeah. Anyway, please help me with something. I know it comes from person, but I have to ask about this. Even though I've come to realize my inner space or silence, or maybe what's referred to as awareness, there's a very deep blockage in my heart chakra, a very deep negative issue in my energy body. Every time my heart opens, it closes again. It's impossible to live like this. I really want to Now I have a bad relationship with my family, which is probably the main cause for this, but I cannot leave this place. I have to stay here, and I want to stay here. I'm not going to escape my problems. God, I really cannot. Wow. So I presume part of the suffering comes from feeling stuck, feeling like you don't have any option in your current situation, that the way things are out of line with what your heart wants or what your body wants, and you don't know how to navigate through your current situation in order to find that. The recognition of awareness is beautiful, but depending on the recognition, it might not change much. If there's not an energetic shift as well, it might be a little bit of a crutch, but energetically there won't be much of a shift. So you've got to see, maybe, although I'm not speaking to you in person, so take this lightly, see if this resonates for you, and maybe go out and ask someone for more regular help that you can speak to every week. But what I would see is, what is your judge? What is it that you're trapped in? What is it that you're unable to live up to? Like, what is this future disaster that's putting pressure on you now? This future thing that you have to do, that you're forced to do. Ultimately, it's all imagination. Like right here, right now, where are the problems in this innocence? But in the human world, if you're caught in past and future, then you've got a problem in the future, and you've got a cage which is caging you, and something which you're fearful of. So try to understand what it is your judge. What is it that you've got held above you? What is it that you can't grasp or live up to or feel powerless to? Try to see that. And I would ask for help, like one-on-one help with somebody, and speak to somebody regularly. Thank you for your question. Hello Susan. Hello Lisa. I hope the retreat went well. Can you please speak about oneness and how it relates to love versus hate or pain? I was speaking with someone who believes God is only love and there is a separate energy of hate, evil that causes suffering. I don't see it this way, but if oneness is pure love, then how do we understand the people who experience painful and negative acts? Example, murder, abuse, racism. Although the acts of pain may be impersonal, where do these acts come from? Nowhere. The beginning of time. Where is the energy within oneness? I know right here, right now, this question is irrelevant and will pass, but I'm still sending it. Thank you. Much love. Thanks, Susan. So, I think that the energy of separation creates murder, abuse, racism. I think that it is possible to exist without separation, but not very much. So, say if you weren't separate and somebody was attacking your family or attacking you, there might be murder that happens. But I think that the suffering leads to hate and evil. Separation leads to hate and evil. Like on the human level, I don't really claim for much to have changed on the human level here. Well, I do actually. I say a lot changed, but I try to say that it's not really about the human level, but I don't feel like I act out of hate and do evil things. Sometimes what I do might be to one person a glorious act, to another person an evil act, but from my heart it doesn't feel like I act out of hate or evil, no matter what I've done. It just doesn't feel like it's there. It just doesn't come up. I can act out of anger in the moment, but it's not hate or evil. The reason that hate and evil only exist with separation is because they normally come, hate and evil, from a feeling of being victim to life and to another person. So you feel somebody has done something bad to you and that they deserve revenge. So say someone doesn't please you, someone doesn't do what you want. You might not be aware of it, but then revenge, you feel victim to it and a revenge act happens. So then you might be trying to put them down publicly, make them feel small, be superior. You might even steal from them because you feel justified. You feel they've done something bad and it's justified that you do something bad back to them, that you take from them. And this gets stronger and stronger. Say if you're madly in love with someone and that person leaves you for another person, you might feel so much hate towards them that you do really revengeful thing, maybe even lead to murder. They say that the number one cause of murder is normally through love relationships. And it can also be a gradual thing, that bit by bit someone keeps repetitively not giving you what you want and more hate arises towards them, so there's more of an attack on them. And the reason I don't feel like this happens when you're not separate is because your energy is so sucked into the moment that your energy is not obsessing on what has happened or what's going to happen as much. So it's almost like the human's more clean in a way. Like it has its particular patterns and its setups, but it's not holding on to the past or future. Whereas hate and evilness really depends on somebody really hating and holding on to what's happened or what could happen or what might happen. And abuse, I think that most white people are racist, so enlightened or not, I think that everybody's most probably racist. Like, I think it's a very biological thing, racism. I'm not saying it's justified or it's okay, but I think that the studies that they've done on our brains, when there's something really different from our norm, so what we're used to, so say a face that's different or a person that's different, then biologically there is a block that comes up towards that person. So we are more attracted to people that are similar to ourselves. So I don't think it's just white people, actually. It's just that's easier to look at in Western society. I'm sure it's the other way around. I know when I go to India, I get stared at all the time. Not saying that's necessarily racist, they're staring at, but I don't know what that is, but I think it comes with an energy of Indian men often think that white women are going to have sex with everybody on the street in that instance. There's they have this over-sexualization of white women. I think we look really physically different, so it's shocking sometimes. I think they're interested in what you're like, whether you're friendly or aggressive. I think, though, that racism is, I don't know, this is a very difficult subject and I haven't really studied racism, so I don't really know it that well. And I think sometimes that we aren't aware that we're being racist, or what we define as racist. I remember when I was in Holland. We went out. Me and my friend went out just before Christmas, and we were really shocked because there was a big celebration going on, and it was white people dressed as black people. So they painted their face black and their lips red, and they wore these elf costumes. And it was really shocking because in England that would be banned. You wouldn't allowed to do something like that. But to Dutch people that was a very normal behaviour. And if you were to say to someone that did that in England that was considered racist, they wouldn't understand that perspective. So I think racism is a very difficult issue, but I think that maybe as an animal we're all got that potentiality for racism. Racism that you're maybe talking about is actually racism that's acted out on, where people actually believe that so there's that natural instinct to be wary of things that are new or different, but then actually people that believe that there's a superior race, or there's an more intelligent race. And maybe my prejudice comes up because then I think that people that think that are maybe stupid. I don't know if that's prejudiced. But I know there's a lot of argument about what the intelligent race is and what the unintelligent race is, and it seems like a very stupid things to even think about. I think we kind of got to get on with mingling, all of us. That's my personal perspective. The more that we mingle and breed together, the more that we'll be okay with each other. Abuse. I think abuse solely comes from separation. I think it's again like a revenge thing. I think sometimes though maybe we can be abusive and not know we're being abusive. Like swearing at one person, they might find it funny. Swearing at another person, they might see it as abusive. But I think serious abuse is the same as hate or evil. So you asked, why does oneness create that? It's not that oneness creates it. It's default of creating this self-aware being. It's not that it consciously did it, but when it created this self-aware being that could think, this thinking ability, this thinking machine, this thinking animal began to have this dualistic thinking of good and bad and right and wrong and past and future and me and other. And with that idea, me and other, then this divide happened between them and someone else. And then the suffering begins as soon as the separation, because you forget that you are it all. You are this freedom. You are this intimate moment. So it's not that life consciously created this separation, this hate and evilness. It's innocently did it. And it most probably is innocently going to end it again. Like, I don't think separation can sustain itself. There was something else I wanted to say on this as well. I forgot. I think the hardest thing for us to accept as humans is the opposite side of life. So we're okay to accept pleasure, happiness, freedom, growth, security, love, bonding, friendship. But what we're not okay with on the human level is accepting the opposite of that. That things decay, things end, things change, things die, things leave. And that's too painful for our mind to cope with. It feels too chaotic to imagine that we could potentially die, or that loved ones can potentially die, and that dying process could be a painful process. That people could war and fight and hate each other and kill each other. In our brains, this is too much for us to bear in the imagination. It feels too big. Like, how can you deal with that imagination? But notice that that is your imagination. It's not something that dogs or cats or cows or bunny rabbits have to deal with. They can't imagine all the cruelties and the horrors of this life, because they're totally connected to this moment, and in this moment it all disappears. So firstly, see that in this moment it's free of the opposites. It's free of all the beautiful things, and it's free of all the negative things. It doesn't mean we have to ignore them on the human imagination level, but we just see them for what they are. That actually in this moment, those terrors, those horrible acts are never happening. Even in the moment of war, it's not happening in this instant. I know that sounds really odd, but as you get to know this moment better, you see that nothing is as you think it is. And all the destruction and devastation that you see in your imagination is separate from it actually happening. It is your imagination. And from my 37 years of being on this planet, all those things that you fear aren't as bad as you think they're going to be when you're actually experiencing them. They're different from the way that you experience them. When you're having the imagination of them, you're having all your abandonment feelings, your terror feelings, your insecurity feelings sparked. And so it's like your worst possible feeling sparked, but actually in the moment of it happening, normally you're very involved in it happening, so that's not being sparked in the same way. Basically, when those thoughts begin to arise about all these horrible things that could potentially happen in life, you can give it back. You don't have to live in this constant pendulum of all the heavenly things, all the hell things, all the heavenly things, all the hell things. You can just come back here, and you can just use them to help inform you about the situation slightly. But most of the time you're here. This is your home, this is your God, and this is where you're safe. Right here, in this moment. You can give the chaos back. Thanks, Timothy. No, it wasn't Timothy. Thanks, Susan. Thanks, Susan. Hey, Dan. Hi, Lisa. What you said about negative energy really resonated with me. I'm wondering, how do you know when it's time to withdraw from a relationship? I've had a hard time with my whole family for a number of years now, and I'm constantly torn between keeping them in my life and detaching from them. It feels like a loose situation. It's draining. I think that's a very personal decision. I think you'll know what to pick. That's a bit of a cop-out from me, but it's best that I don't give too much direct, like this or that. Like, it's something that you have to come to peace with inside your heart. And, you know, I wouldn't want to speak too much about this, because to speak too much to you about this in this situation, because I'm just reading these words off the screen, so it's much better if we had a longer conversation about it and then I spoke. It feels too fragile to just kind of say boop, 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 boop. Hi, Lisa. Recently heard a clip of a well-respected non-duality teacher saying that they are able to induce an awakening in just about anyone, but they don't do this anymore because the outcome often aren't as good as when the awakening is allowed to happen more organically. Do you have any thoughts? to share about this. Thank you. Hey Thane. Do I have any thoughts about that? I just wonder why that needs to be spoken about. Like, maybe they were asked a particular question about it, but we don't need to really speak about that. Whether or not the teacher can induce it in someone. I certainly recognize that people resonate when this message is being spoken, and when you're in somebody's energy where there's freedom, there's a resonance that happens there, there's a recognition. But I don't know why we need to speak about inducing it in someone and then it organically happening. It doesn't, for me personally, with my way of thinking, I'm quite... I like to get to the heart of things. I just don't see the point in speaking about it. I don't know what good that will bring you or anyone. Does that? Can't think. Like, to me, what matters is this moment. Like, often a lot of other things are... Like, what matters is this, 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 is this. I'd like more to speak about that than to speak about that. Hey Phyllis. Hi Thomas. Hey Thomas, we're definitely been seeing a huge shift to the right in domestic politics and a shift towards Procrastinanism the last 10 to 15 years all over the Western world. I agree, we need to work out our genetic baggage and start intermingling more across nationalities and borders. Yeah. I understand the argument of people wanting to keep their cultures, and I think it's beautiful. I love Europe and all the different cultures and the different traditions, but I don't see how that's going to happen. How are we going to be able to keep that? I mean, if we take aside that, we've got to also begin to prepare that in 20 or 30 years we're going to have AIs, like independent AIs. We're going to have robots doing everything. So kind of like this issue, like we're gonna be creating a whole new life form, and I don't know how, much time we've got to try and keep things the way they have been in the olden days, because in 30 years time we're going to have given new life, and a new life form is going to become independent from us. We're no longer most probably going to be able to control it anymore. So it will start evolving and forming by itself. And I mean, when that begins to happen, screw the whole border argument and nationalities and keeping your cultural identities. We're going to start intermingling with robots and potentially even breeding with robots, or we've created a whole nother race. So, I mean, I love the idea of keeping some of the cultures, but at the same time, I don't understand how that's possible. We now have gone past that threshold, and it seems like we're going to have to mingle. We're just going to have to all mingle and all share our cultures and embrace each other's cultures. The only thing I don't want to embrace, and this is going to get me in so much trouble saying it, but I suppose I should, to be genuine, is I don't want to embrace ever having to wear any clothes, specific clothes for being a specific gender. Having to, I'm sure you know what I mean. That's the only thing that I feel opposed to embracing. Hi Lisa, so nice to hear you. Much love. Hi again. Could you speak to the security in this moment and its wise unfolding? I don't know how much I can explain it, but where are your problems now? Where is security or insecurity now? Where is poverty or wealth, health or illness right now? This is how the animals live, innocently. This is how we used to live until we could begin to imagine the future and imagine the past. Hi, Alexander. Hi Lisa, could you tell me please why most speakers give the name awareness, implying a subject-object relationship between awareness can't exist without objects to what is? So when there is no one anymore, why speakers call it awareness? Well, all there is what's happening and there is no separate awareness of it. Thanks a lot, Alexandra. When you really begin to see this message, you won't really care what it's called. It could be called the rat's bottom, and you wouldn't really care. Why do you care, Alexandri? What are you identified with? What are you attached with? What concept do you need to be in play? It just doesn't matter, it's communication. You could find issue with what is. You could find issue with every way of speaking. I could absolutely destroy the argument of what is and all there is everything. I could absolutely destroy the idea of awareness that implies subject-object. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter all these different ways of saying it. They're all trying to talk about something that you cannot speak about. It's more than likely an attachment that you have. What's happening in your body? For me, when I was younger, and I used to hear the absolute teaching and the relative teaching, I used to be attracted to the absolute teaching because I wanted to be superior to something. I wasn't conscious of that though. I was totally unconscious of that. To me, there was other reasons why I was attracted to it. Like I could really hear it and I thought it was really beautiful. But there was another part of me that enjoyed the superiority. I'd been in a Buddhist group with lots of meditation and lots of practice and lots of hierarchy. I thought sexism, but that I'm not sure if it was sexism or not. I thought there was a lot of sexism in this Buddhist group that I'd been involved in. So when I heard the message of what is and the absolute message, I liked that because it gave me a superiority over my old Buddhist group, that I knew something better than them. I also love hearing that message, and I think it's really beautiful to hear the absolute message. But on the human level, why do you care? What is it in you? Always bring it back to you. What are you attached to? What do you want to hold on to? Because you can't say this right. The absolute isn't right. The relative isn't right. And what I've realized from many years of teaching is if you just teach the absolute, people still take it personally anyway. They still use it as a way to divide, just like the awareness or the consciousness, just as much. When that energetic shift is going to happen, it's going to happen whether you're with that teaching or the other teaching. It doesn't seem like one is higher than the other. It's when that person is really ready to surrender to what's actually happening, really prepared to see its own bullshit, really prepared to surrender that bullshit. Thank you, Alexandra. Yes, to the potential horrors, so true. Thank you, Lisa. Makes sense that hate, evil acts come from separation. Without separation, there is just what is, but it can be difficult to experience non-separation as humans. The thinking mind is a miracle and a curse, and perhaps through evolution it will calm down or return to the truth of love. And yes, it's a pig's mind was aware of the store. If the pig's mind was aware of the slaughterhouse, they would need a psychologist too. Beautiful response, Lisa. Thank you. Thanks, Susan. Perhaps the technology humans have created is also a blessing and a curse. I often desire the simplistic ways of living from the past. Raising children has changed so drastically in the tech world, and connecting with others has changed. I feel we're still learning how to use technology in a healthy way. And it's going to catch up with us quick, technology. I'm not against it. I actually love technology, but I'm super curious as to what happened, what's going to happen, because more and more jobs are going to technology, not to humans, but to machines. So governments are beginning to think of giving all humans a basic wage to be able to counteract that, because soon there won't be enough jobs for humans, so we're giving it to machines. So we've got that to deal with, but it's also great that it goes to machines, because it means we don't have to do certain jobs that are very painful. But we're going to create them so they're self-evolving, and therefore then they will be out of our control, which I can't imagine what's going to happen. That's amazing to think about. Like, if they self-evolve, they say that if they begin to self-evolve, then their evolution will be so rapid, like more rapid than what we can think about. Okay. And technology is everywhere now. Everybody has technology. It's in the corners of our society. There's no going back. Hi Lisa, when we accept everything the way it is, we become available to grace and life becomes a flow. When we reject something, we come down energetically and we somehow become like an illusory wall. What do you think? I agree, Nima, but it's not quite acceptance on the human level. It might feel like that. It's actually beyond the human level, this acceptance. And then the seeking energy happens on the human level when there's been a rejection. So when there's been a rejection, then the seeking level happens. You seek to avoid what's happening, and you seek to find the solution in time. But the acceptance is your nature, is your essence. It's beyond the human level. It's already there, it's already happening. It's just the attention is on the person, on the seeking energy and on the rejection. So it's like as you begin to drop more into this moment, then all there is acceptance, because this moment is your essence. This moment is absolute embracing of what's happening. Thanks, Nima, for your question. Hi, Zach. I love your videos, and sometimes I feel like you're speaking directly to me. I'm so tired of seeking and trying to be okay with this. I have had a big drug problem, but I don't feel like the urge to use anymore, thank God. I wish I could have a retreat in the US. I'd really like to come to one, but won't be able to till next year, as I'm restricted to Dallas country till I get off probation. All my problems led me to non-duality and watching your videos. Thank you so much. Maybe I could schedule a private internet session. Sure, Zach. There is a nice speaker out there that has from an AA background, which you might find helpful. I think he's written a book about recovery. His name is Paul Hederman, and I think one of his books is about recovery and addiction, which you might find helpful from a non-dual perspective. And somebody actually yesterday or today sent me a text. Just let me get it, actually, it's really beautiful. So this is a prayer from AA. God, please set aside everything I think I know about alcoholism, addiction, recovery, the 12 steps and the big book. God, please set aside everything I think I know about my family, my future, my fears and my finances. God, please set aside everything I think I know about meditation, spirituality and spiritual awakening. And most of all, God, please set aside everything I think I know about you, so that I may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Amen. Set aside pray from AA Recovery Program. I thought that was beautiful. Someone sent that to me this morning. Just for you, Zach. Hi, Timothy. Thank you. Yes. Remember my innocence. My vulnerable self is settling in. Dear Lisa. Hi, CJ. Thank you very much for these talks. I have a question about jealousy. I feel a difficult sensation in my upper chest whenever my partner praises people, especially other women who he is close to. I've felt in the past that some of his actions involving women were disrespectful to me. I get lost in the intellect, wondering, do I end the relationship or do I need to get over the jealousy and accept that his actions are okay? Thank you. Love, Nisa. Thanks, Nisa. I think that's not the most easy subject. So that's not the, it's not something that I can specifically answer for you. It's something that you have to come to understand for yourself. So from relationships I've had with people, I normally feel like my gut instinct is true. But it took me many relationships to realize this, and it's still something that I have to address from time to time, that my gut instinct in friendships or relationships is normally true. And then what happens after that is what takes me out of balance. What I used to do in the past was I wanted the other person to confirm what I felt to be true. So I would often ask the other person if what I felt was true. And I gave the other person too much power when I did that. Because it's really something that you've got to come to conclude by yourself. Because the other person has their agendas and their feelings, and maybe if they are doing something that's not respectful to you, they might not be aware of that. And it wasn't really fair on me to give that person so much power to validate what I felt. I found for myself that most of the time when I had strong feelings about someone, I was right. Then what made me out of balance was firstly waiting for them to approve what I felt, and secondly most probably putting that emotion on them, like it's your own feeling at the end of the day. And if they are acting in inappropriate ways, it's not really their fault. That's the particular way they're set up, and you can't really change them in an instant. It's something that they have to be willing to address, and it's not your job to try to change them. It's your job to be honest and truthful with yourself and what you feel. So now if I could go back and give Lisa advice, my advice when I was younger in relationships, my advice would be to trust my feelings, but not to project them onto others and blame others or try to convert others. Own my feelings and then take action from my feelings. And actually this is advice I would still give to myself. Like, this is really good advice. Like I still sometimes maybe on the other person to confirm something or not confirm something, and really it's not their job to. And they might not even be aware of what they're doing. Most of the time I've realized that I personally have really good intuition, but that doesn't mean that the other person will have the ability to see that. At the end of the day, your emotional body and life in one way is a very private affair, and whatever the other person is doing to hurt you or be manipulative or not be manipulative, whatever that person is doing, you have to deal with your own emotions, and you have to make choices on your own emotions. And looking out for too much confirmation from other people is going to confuse you more than likely. If he's being disrespectful with you with other women, which may be the case, you can't change him until he's ready to see that for himself, and you can't force him into that. He has to be ready and open and willing to do that. So you can either agree to live with that, or you can both agree to receive help for that, or you keep trying to confront him about it, but this will cause a lot of conflict if he's not ready to see it. Or you can walk away. These are your options, and these aren't for me to decide. These aren't for him to decide. You have to meditate on your feelings and see what rings true. Really understand what your body's saying. On the human level, this is the wise thing to do. Hi Thomas. That would be the last invention ever made, a robot with AI to supersede ourselves, self-improving at a brilliant speed. Everything could possibly be taken care of after that, freeing humans to go much deeper than ever before into the realms of art, philosophy, and deep spiritual work, and eventually possibility of eradicating of negativity. But the thing is, Thomas, is if they become independently evolving, the question is are they alive or not? And if they're alive, why should they do our shitty jobs? We currently as humans see AIs as something we've invented as dead and not alive, that they don't have feelings or they don't have consciousness. But what if they do? How do we know? And if they do have feelings, which we are inventing them like that, then it's like a new slave trade. So it's a very interesting time that's going to happen. And then if they do evolve, will they begin to evolve beyond the idea of serving humans? I like thinking about that stuff. Paul Hedderman talks have helped me a lot. He's the big Lewinsky of non-duality. Love to you. Hello, sweetie. After a little study, the chance of the machine being conscious is unlikely. We can't even find actual human consciousness. It is emergent. No one can point to it, wait to it, measure it. They built a virtually simply called worm, set it to go, and nothing. They are stumped. All they have is fake flowers, a lot of something out there. Come on then. Hey, hello, beauty. Hello. Hello. Hello, you good girl. Yeah, you good girl. Oh yeah. Hello, sweetie. Hello. 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 You good girl. Yeah. You've been looking after the garden. Are you? You've been looking after the garden. Yeah. Go 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 go. You go 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 go. Ooh. Oogie ducky ducky duck. Go duck go duck go duck. Thank you for your love. Thanks, Timothy. Hi, Lisa. Welcome back from your retreat. Here is my trivial individual issue. I can have spontaneous conversations with people about whatever is happening and be completely detached from it all. I'm quite averse to making phone calls, for example, even my parents. I don't want to talk about what I'm doing, what's new, all the usual small talk. None of my joy is derived from anything perceived or anything that can be talked about. How can I relate to those separate beings on that level if I don't want to? One way I found helpful to interact with people where I wasn't so interested in conversation with them was doing things with them, like going shopping or going to the cinema or doing an activity with them rather than just being on the phone or at a coffee shop. When spontaneous action is occurring, there is complete peace and acceptance of what is. When thoughts arise of something that should be done in the near future, there is contraction of consciousness, creating more of a separate being out of nothing. For example, if the thought arises to go outside to the park or go exercise, I wonder why I need to do anything in the future when I'm perfectly happy right now. It seems to not be the best choice for my health. That has to be considered in time. Get a dog. Then you have to go out. Like Khaleesi forces me to go out. I suppose what you're asking is the difference between the body telling you what to do in this instant and the ability to think about something. And I would just follow love. And when the body's ready to exercise, it will exercise. But thinking about your health is an important thing to think about, and that's good to reflect on. But follow love. And know that there's nobody following love, and that all there is love. But where you feel separate, you can use that as a game to contemplate. Let's talk about love, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Just know, Ron, if I knew you in person, so if you're sitting in front of me in person, I wouldn't start just shaking my head and start saying, let's talk about love, baby. Maybe, but it's unlikely. It's an effect of doing this in a room by yourself. I'm better behaved, I think, in front of humans when they're actually physically in front of me. There she is. What a beautiful and charming dog. She's so cute. We had a long walk in the rain today. Okay, guys, that was a long session. That's enough for now. Thank you very much. I forgot to tell you, I've got new announcements up on my website of retreats that I'm doing. I've got a summer retreat in the south of France. It's now on my website. And I also have a retreat in October in Spain. And I also have talks in Paris in May for May Bank Holiday weekend. So you can see all that on my website, which I think is linked to this video. Maybe there. And thank you for everyone that was on my retreat last week. It was such a beautiful week. I really loved it. I really love sharing with people and experiencing that. And I send you lots of love, and I see you Wednesday. Bye.